We cannot hear you. That is because everyone is muted. If everybody was allowed to talk, the background noise is just way too loud. So we have to mute everybody. And on the next slide, if you have a question, please write your question and submit it from it's at the bottom of your control panel. Click on the box, type in your question, and hit send. And once our presenter is finished, I will read out the questions and she will answer them. Feel free to write as many questions as you would like. Our presenter today is Patty Arable. She's from the Fort Worth chapter of the South Central section. She's been a member since 2005. She's the communications chair of her chapter. She flies a Piper Arrow and an Embraer 145. So Patty, if you would please go ahead and start your presentation, and thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Jan, and hi everybody. And as Jan introduced me, I'm Patty Arable, and along with Jan McKenzie, I want to thank you for joining our webinar tonight. I'm very excited to introduce you to the Professional Pilot Leadership Initiative. And it's a unique and valuable career development program that is sponsored and supported exclusively by the 99s. And as you see on your screen, the PPLI's purpose is to promote leadership and mentoring among professional women aviators. So what we'll do in tonight's presentation is give you the rundown on what the PPLI is exactly, the benefits and the history of the program, why the PPLI is important to the 99s, the phases of the program, and application details, how to apply, and things to consider when filling out your application. And then we'll conclude the presentation with a question and answer session. I'm happy to say that I've got some backup in that department. We have Beth Powell and Karen Rozier on the line, who are both PPLI participants, graduates, and serve on the coordination team. So what is the PPLI? Well, just as the name describes, it's a formal structured mentoring program designed to promote the advancement of professional aviators through guided activities and the cultivation of career and leadership skills. And you know, when you think about your goals and aspirations for advancement as an aviator, whether you're a fixed-wing pilot or a helicopter pilot, what you're ultimately looking to do is to take on an enormous and very challenging responsibility. Responsibility for the equipment that you're operating, and responsibility for the passengers and the crew members who will look to you for assurance and guidance and sound decision-making. So of course this requires confidence and leadership as well as talent and experience. But at least in my case, leadership skills don't appear overnight. And you know, arguably they're not innate. Maybe for some people they are, but not for most of us. For most of us, they have to be cultivated, they have to be practiced and exercised in order to become second nature and to be utilized effectively when you need them the most. So the PPLI program was built on this premise, so that when your opportunity for advancement arrives, you'll be ready to take on the additional responsibility effectively, confidently, and successfully. So who benefits from PPLI? Well, highly motivated 99s who have not yet achieved their professional pilot career goals. Now I want you to note the qualifiers in that statement that you see there on the screen. The first requirement is you have to be a 99. The second requirement is you have to be setting your sights on a professional aviation career or have already begun your professional aviation career. Consequently, the minimum rating requirement that we have is that you have your commercial license. And I want to emphasize now at the start here, this program is not limited to women who aspire to work for an airline, and it's definitely not narrowly focused on that. We have members who are corporate pilots, pilots for municipalities and state governments, helicopter rescue and medical services pilots, and of course certified flight instructors. So maybe your passion is for flight instruction and that's how you want to grow and further your career. Maybe your dream is to fly for a nonprofit organization delivering food and medical supplies to a distressed population. No matter what sector of the industry you're in, the PPLI will align with your goals and you'll benefit greatly from what it has to offer. A little bit on the history of PPLI, how it originated. It was started in 2004 by Jenny Beatty and Laura Smith. And Jenny, who is pictured here, is a first officer with American Airlines on the Boeing 777. Laura Smith is a pilot with Southwest Airlines. And now both of these ladies are obviously already successful in their careers today, and both would probably tell you that they had some wonderful role models along the way. I'm sure they had women who were groundbreakers in the airline industry, and I'm sure they'd tell you that those women had given them both invaluable help and advice. But what these two ladies also recognized, Jenny Beatty and Laura Smith, they recognized a missing piece in the equation for those of us who aspire to be professional aviators. That so many of us could benefit early on from having a mentor, an advisor, and a supporter who traveled down our chosen career path ahead of us. You know, even today, such a relationship, you know, even here in the 21st century, a relationship like that can be hard to come by, especially for women aviators. You know, if you're like me, you know, I grew up, I didn't have pilots in my family. I didn't really have a role model like that. And I kind of entered into aviation and was attracted to aviation alone. And so having a role model really was a little difficult to come by. And even today, when you look at commercial pilots, still only about 5% of them are women. So Jenny Beatty and Laura Smith envisioned the idea of a formal mentoring program for women aviators, which would provide that type of support and guidance in a structured, measurable, and accountable way. And that's how they came up with the Professional Pilot Leadership Initiative. They approached Jody McCarroll, then the president of the 99s in 2004, with this concept because they felt the 99s would be the best organization to sponsor and foster such a program. And Jody and the board of directors, they loved it, and they said, take it and run with it. And the 99s has really allowed the program to evolve from within and on its own, fully supporting it without trying to control it. And that's exciting because really there's no better home for the PPLI. It belongs with the 99s. It's a genuine grassroots program managed and administered by volunteers, and it's growing and flourishing in the spirit of this great organization, which has a rich history and a very important legacy. So today we have over 70 graduates of the program and currently over 150 women involved. Why is the PPLI important? Specifically, why is it important to the 99s? Well, frankly, it's crucial for our enrollment and recruiting. No other aviation organization has a formal mentoring program. And nowadays, as most of you know, with the cost of avgas, airplane rental, and flight training increasing at about the same rate as the college tuition, many young women simply can't afford to pursue aviation as an avocation. If they're out there expending that kind of money and effort, it's most likely because they're interested in a flying career. Therefore, this program serves as a very important gateway to the 99s for future generations of aviators. Over 40 new and renewing members signed up at the 2012 Women in Aviation Conference, and many of them signed up when they learned about the PPLI. And most recently, at the 2015 Women in Aviation Conference in Dallas, we enrolled approximately 60 new and renewing 99s because of a strong interest in PPLI. And in fact, I was there. It was in my backyard here practically in Dallas. We had a packed conference room at our Friday night social where we highlighted the PPLI. And the original conference room that they'd given us at the convention was too small for the number of attendees, so we had to move to a larger venue, which was the same venue used previously by the military organizations. So you can imagine what a great feeling that was to see such a huge turnout, and we're anticipating an even larger turnout next year in Nashville. It's very exciting. And aside from increasing membership, PPLI is also important because the leadership component of the program has participants giving back to the 99s, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. So how does it work? Well, the PPLI has 3 distinct phases, and it takes a minimum of 18 months to complete. There's your first commitment when you're accepted. You'll devote a year and a half of your life to being involved in this program. Now, it's not as demanding as taking on a part-time job, perhaps, but you can expect to commit at least 10 hours a month to your weekly communications and assignments. And the more time you commit, the more you're going to get out of it. But, you know, when you think about it, success and personal growth doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes time and commitment to develop good habits and a track record of good performance and to increase your confidence. So an 18-month commitment really isn't too much to ask in the grand scheme of what you're trying to achieve. And keep in mind, this is a commitment to yourself more than anybody else. And I think you're worth an 18-month commitment to yourself, and I hope you do too. So the phases here, in these 3 phases, they're called the captain's phase, captain's circle, and the navigator phase. And the beauty of it is that most of the program material is online. Once you're accepted, an account is created for you on the PPLI website. Your account allows you to access the reading material, report your status, measure your progress, submit your leadership points, and even correspond with your mentor, your peers, and your mentoring coordinator. So the platform is designed to be totally portable and paperless. It's great. You have access to all the resources and materials from wherever you are. And mentors and mentees rarely meet in person. It's a lot of fun if they do. You know, I've been fortunate to meet both my mentor and my mentee in person. My mentor, Aaron, known as my navigator, lives in the Seattle area and flies for Alaska Airlines. And my mentee, Beth, my captain now, because I'm in the 3rd phase, Beth lives in the Miami area and flight instructs at Opa-locka Airport. So I live in Dallas, and because I work for Envoy, I've got the flight benefits. So I had a very special opportunity to meet both of them in person, and that was great. But it's certainly not a requirement because the primary forms of interaction are phone, email, and even Skype, Google Hangout. And but that, you know, that's one very cool aspect of this program, and that is that you'll be assigned a mentor whom you probably wouldn't have even encountered or stumbled across otherwise, because chances are she lives in some faraway city working for a company or flight school or airline or enterprise you knew little about until now. Or she may even live and work in another country, like as Karen Rozier does, and she may live and work in another country depending on the circumstances of why you two were matched. But I know that you'll find that what she's doing and the experience she brings to your mentoring relationship is both eye-opening and motivating. At least, you know, I know in my situation, it was interesting to get to know my navigator, Erin, and she had just upgraded to captain at ExpressJet and was based in Detroit and commuted there from her home in Seattle. And now that I'm a navigator and I have a captain, Beth, it's great to talk to her on a weekly basis because here, you know, Beth is flight instructing down in South Florida at this busy, congested little airport. She's flight instructing foreign students. All the while, she's been working on her tailwheel endorsement and her multi-engine rating. So those are 2 busy ladies right there, and their energy is contagious. So let's start with phase 1, the captain phase. You're the mentee paired with your mentor, but we call it the captain phase because you're in charge of your career. You're the captain. Your mentor is your navigator, and that's what she's called because her role is to advise you and offer guidance so that you're moving in the right direction. So during this session, which is just a little over 5 months, you and your navigator will communicate weekly. You'll read and discuss what we call dispatches, the PPLI dispatches, which you can think of them as tutorials in a sense. And they're followed up by action items. And they really are. They're intriguing, they're informative, and they're even introspective. They cover topics such as what it means to be a leader, facing setbacks, you know, whether it's a failed check ride, a family crisis, or being laid off the job, you know, a dispatch like that, facing setbacks. That's something that speaks to all of us, right, at one time or another in our careers. Another one, expanding your comfort zone. That's a dispatch that really motivates you to push yourself and to be aware of the complacency trap. We're all vulnerable to that. Don't fall into it. Another one, widening your network. So important in the aviation world that you have those contacts and those professional acquaintances, because oftentimes opportunities, we only learn about them through word of mouth. So during the captain phase, you'll also create your flight plan. And this is where you set your short-term and long-term goals and define what your leadership activities will be. And your navigator will review and help you with this. And your flight plan is direct and measurable. It looks very similar to a project plan if you've ever had experience with one of those. You have end dates for each goal, and you'll identify individuals who will help you get there and even the tools and resources that you'll use to get there. So phase 2, you completed your captain's phase with your mentor, and phase 2 is the captain's circle. So you're about 6 months into the program now, and this phase is really a lot of fun. In this phase, you'll participate in discussions with your peers, and your peers in this case are the other captains who entered the program at the same time you did. Each of you will lead a topic of discussion throughout this phase. You'll have a long list of topics to choose from, so it's kind of important to pick something that really hits home with you, something that resonates with you, because you'll start the discussion off with your own personal story and then be the facilitator of the conversation thereafter. And some of those topics, examples include dealing with difficult crew members, handling setbacks, balancing work and family. And let me just say this, when you're in this session, just a little personal advice from me, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Take advantage of this opportunity to put your situation, your experience out there to your peers. These discussions are confidential, and I think you'll be encouraged by how compassionate and supportive your fellow captains are. And because you're engaging with women from a wide variety of backgrounds and experiences, there really is some collective wisdom to be gleaned from this session. So take advantage of it. It's great. Just as an example, my topic in this session was staying healthy, because I learned firsthand how challenging it can be to eat healthy food, sleep well, and find time for exercise as an airline pilot. And I kind of learned that the hard way, I guess. I suffered from a back injury, and it put me out of work for a few weeks, and I had to recover. And I really had to assess my lifestyle and kind of take control of it and take control of my health in that situation. And I just kind of let a few things slip in my, day-to-day life. So, it's just, you find out, that's something like that. It's just very challenging when you have very little control over your schedule. But when I presented that topic in this session, the neat thing is I learned from one of the other captains. She brought up that how stress can affect your health and your performance on the job. And that was something that I guess I never paid a lot of attention to, but now I'm very aware of it and how important it is also to mitigate stress as a way of staying healthy. And then two other very important activities you'll work on in this session are the scholarship workshop and the resume workshop. And financing flight training is a tremendous challenge for most of us. So if you didn't know it before, you'll learn in this session what scholarships are available to 99s. Seize that opportunity. The Amelia Earhart Memorial Scholarship Fund has some incredible scholarships to offer. I mean, we're talking about type ratings here, ladies. This is a big deal. And this workshop, led by one of our team leads, will show you how to put together an impressive and concise application to win one of those scholarships. The resume workshop, I can't tell you enough how valuable this is. If you thought you had a decent resume before, well, think again. Again, a PPLI team leader will facilitate this workshop and give you pointers. And you and your peers will share and critique one another's resumes. And by the time you've completed this workshop, you will have a professional, polished resume that you'll be confident to present to anybody at the next job fair. Okay, so now we come to phase 3, the final phase of your PPLI experience. You're about a year into your experience here, and this is where you now will become the navigator. You're the mentor now. You're giving one-on-one guidance, support, and encouragement to a captain who is developing her career goals. So, I mean, talk about developing as a leader, right? Your captain will have her own unique set of challenges and difficulties, and will be looking to you to help her navigate through these on the way to reaching her goals. You'll read the dispatches once again and discuss them with her, because this is her first look at them. And you'll help her formulate a flight plan this time. And most likely, As you get to know her during your weekly discussions, at least this is my experience, you'll find yourself being motivated to have a better attitude, to be positive, and to stay focused on your own goals. After all, you're the role model now in this situation, so there really is a mutual accountability going on here. So let's talk about the leadership development aspect of the program, because we only touched on that briefly earlier. Throughout your participation in PPLI, you'll be required to complete leadership activities by volunteering in the aviation community. Now, you can also earn leadership points by volunteering outside the aviation community, because we do have some members who are very involved in nonprofit organizations, and they've done some tremendous work in fundraising. And so definitely that would earn you leadership points. I mean, because think about it, if you can persuade somebody to hand over a large amount of money, you're showing leadership skills right there. But we do encourage that you earn at least some of your leadership points within the 99s, within the chapter or section level, because that's important. And then within the aviation community as well, because you're trying to build your career and enhance your career in aviation. So there are ways to do that within the 99s. At the chapter level, you can organize the fly-in or an aviation career day at a local school. You can run for an office position, such as communications chair. You can even serve on a committee within your chapter, such as a scholarship committee. And if geographically you're not close to an active chapter, there are still numerous ways to participate in the 99s. You can write an article for the magazine, or you can participate in a quarterly section event. And you know, the 99s benefit also when a PPLI captain works towards leadership points, because it increases her involvement with her local chapter or section, which leads to more visibility, more participation, and better representation for the organization as a whole. Now, if it's outside the 99s, let's say you're already employed in an airline or a flight school, you know, volunteer to serve on a safety committee or run for an office position in your union. If you're working at a flight school, try out for the assistant chief pilot slot. Or if you're a captain at a regional, you know, you can consider becoming an IOE captain, you know, working in the training department. Taking on these extra responsibilities puts you in a position to interact with more people at a professional level, and subsequently build your confidence to lead. Not to mention it widens your network, right? And it hones your skills, personal, technical skills, otherwise, and it makes you a more competitive candidate for a better job down the road. And you know, if the thought of taking on a supervisory role such as these intimidates you, well, all I can say is that's exactly why you would benefit from the PPLI. Okay, so suppose you've already reached that coveted plateau in your career. You've had a successful run, you've learned a lot along the way, and you'd like to share that knowledge with someone else. You'd like to pay it forward, in a sense, you know, in the aviation community by being a mentor to someone else. Well, who better to mentor than another 99? You can apply to the PPLI to step in immediately as what we call a senior navigator. You'll be assigned a captain to mentor, and you'll work with her the same way a typical navigator works with the captain. You'll read the dispatches with your captain, you'll talk with her on a weekly basis, and you'll help her build her flight plan. So PPLI would love to have you for that. We'd appreciate your contribution, and definitely would value your life experience, your knowledge, and your wisdom. So check it out. Okay, this leads us to some testimonials from graduates of the PPLI. The first one we have here is from Leah No, and rather than quoting her testimonial verbatim, I'm just going to give you a few seconds to read it, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about Leah, because it's very impressive. Okay, so Leah worked her first Part 121 career, I guess you could say, or she started out her career in Part 121 operation. She was first officer with Mesa Air Group, and then upgraded to captain, and she was with Mesa Airlines for over 9 years. And it was while she was with Mesa that she was accepted into the PPLI program. And also, she served as the Training Council Chair for ALPA, the Airline Pilots Association, and she was also MESA's Central Air Safety Chair. She's been an active and proud 99 and continued to serve as a PPLI team lead even after graduating from PPLI. And she graduated in 2009 from PPLI. And Leah's most recent accomplishment or achievement is she was hired by Delta Airlines last May 2014. Our next testimonial is from Emily Biss. And Emily's story is particularly compelling to me since aviation was not my first career either. And let me just tell you a little bit about Emily here. She majored in mechanical engineering in college and started her professional life working as a systems engineer for Lockheed. But Emily was neither satisfied nor fulfilled building airplanes for a living. She wanted to fly airplanes for a living. So she left engineering and embarked on a long and arduous journey towards becoming a professional pilot. She became a full-time flight instructor and then followed that by working for Scenic Airlines doing Grand Canyon tours. After that, she was hired on with the commuter airline Horizon Air, flying turboprops. And now, talk about a success story, Emily is a production test pilot for the Boeing Corporation in Everett, Washington. She conducts an aircraft's first flights, she performs FAA acceptance flights, and she takes customers receiving airplanes up on demonstration flights. And get this, she does this in the Boeing 737, the Boeing 777, and Boeing's latest creation, the 787. She's typed in all three aircraft. Truly inspiring. It's a great story. Okay, so a little bit about applying, the application details. Next deadline is coming up this Friday, July 31st. So you have just a few days to submit that application, but it's very doable. You can get it done. My understanding is we have 12 spots left for this session, and this is called Session B 2015, and we want to fill every one of those spots, so please get on the website and apply. If you don't make that deadline, then you'll have to wait until 2016, and that's the next application detail. That would be for Session A 2016. So, you know, if you feel like you're ready and you could really benefit from this, if you're at a point in your career you want to do this, get on that website and fill out that application. And here's another personal suggestion from me. When you sit down to fill out that application, ask yourself these questions. What are my ambitions? What are my fears? And in my opinion, this is important if you want to get the most out of PPLI. And I'll just tell you a little bit about what motivated me to apply for PPLI. I'm close to upgrading to captain at Envoy Air, and I wanted to have more confidence to do that. Not just, you know, to pass the training on a new airplane, but to prepare for the leadership role that I would have day to day as pilot in command of a transport airplane, as the authority figure to a crew and to passengers. I wanted to replace some of that fear and trepidation with confidence that I could do a good job and make sound decisions. And you know what? I credit PPLI with helping me to do that. So fill out your application with your specific ambitions in mind, whether you want to be a better candidate for a major airline, whether you're trying to build hours for your ATP, or you want to earn a Gold Seal flight instructor certificate, because you'll have to state on there what's driving you anyway. So think about that, and that's going to help you with your goals and everything in this program. Let's see. Again, you have to be a 99 to participate, have to have a commercial certificate and be actively flying. The one-time program fee of $20, that used to be $30 and then I think it was $25, so $20, I mean really, this is the best investment you can make for yourself right here. It's a great deal. What's really requiring of you is time and energy on your part to improve your personal growth as well as your career development. Assistance is available on a case-by-case basis, and that can be addressed on your application if you do need financial assistance. There's a fact sheet on the 99s.org website that has even more details about PPLI, and can probably answer some more of your questions or concerns. So there's the website. If you haven't been to the URL, 99s.org and spelled out. There's a tab at the top, Advancing Women Pilots. If you click on that tab, you'll get a drop down, and then you'll see Professional Pilot Leadership Initiative in there. Click on that, and that'll be an entire page dedicated to telling you about PPLI. It'll have the fact sheet, and then it'll have a link to the application form that you can fill out. And if you want to submit some questions via email, there's the contact email, mentoring@99s.org. We'll open the session to questions and answers, but first I want to thank Karen Rozier and Stephanie Gates-Sun for putting together this presentation. They did fantastic work with the format and the illustrations. So I do appreciate your time, and any questions you may have, feel free to ask.
Okay, do we have any questions? I don't see any that have been typed in so far. Let's give it just a few more seconds in case somebody's still typing. It looks like, Patty, you did such a great job of answering everything they could want to know. We don't have any questions.
Then everything was very clear.
Actually, it was. I learned a lot. I learned a lot, so it was great. So thank you very, very much, Patty, for taking your time for doing this. I greatly appreciate it. And this is being recorded, and once I download it, we will post it on the 99's website, and that way anybody in the future can go in and listen to this presentation. So thank you again, Patty, and thank you to all the participants that have joined us.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jan and Karen and Beth for being back up. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.